Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, depending on whichever part of the world you are tuning in from. Well, I'm so excited to welcome you to yet another promising edition on the Extreme Speed Live, as we are going to be taking another fresh new look at the financial market. But before we begin this session, let's run through our daily routine by confirming that we are all on the same page. So if you can see my screen and you can hear my voice loud and clear, please let me know in the comment section by typing in hi. Your highs are a form of feedback for me to confirm that you can hear me and see my screen very clearly. So I look forward to your feedbacks. Thank you very much as you do so. So while I load up my comment box, I await your positive feedbacks. Thank you very much. Okay, it seems I have quite a bunch of feedbacks here from a lot of people who I'm seeing for the first time. I guess we have a lot of newcomers in the house. Michael, Marcos Vadades, good morning to you guys. MDLR, good morning. PK78, Janaga, good morning to you. Haki88, good morning to you. Sia325 from South Africa, good morning. Glad to have you around with us this morning. Chenam from India, namaskaram to you. Good morning to you. Who else is here again? Hello, Carrie. Good morning to you, Carrie. Glad to have you around with us this morning. Panayo621, thank you very much. I'm doing very well here. Rock Mushroom, Sia325, Cannabis, Mako. You guys are wonderful. It has been a wonderful beginning to today's trading session. Thank you very much, guys. And it's on this note, I want to welcome you all once again to another promising edition on the Extreme Speed Live. My own name is Sheriff Daramola, and for the next 1 hour, I'm going to be your host as I will be taking you on a trading journey where we shall be evaluating the financial market using simple and fundamental tools such as trend lines, key levels, and chart patterns to unravel the potential trajectory of price action today, and at the same time use the information we gather on the chart to strategically position ourselves for the next big move. So you do not want to miss out on any of the insightful ideas we will be talking about today, as in fact have identified simple trading setups we will be using to guide our decisions for today. Now, for those who are joining us for the first time, you're highly welcome on board. Very glad to have you around with us this morning. I know you will be wondering what this is all about. Well, as technical traders, we gather here every day to come together as a community and engage in follow-ups and reviews of our current positions in preparation of the New York session. This session usually kickstarts officially 10 a.m. UTC, 11 a.m. West African time, and I recommend that you stay tuned in during the course of the session so you don't miss out on any of the insights that we will be sharing today. Well, it is important to note that my aim here is to equip you with the knowledge and skills necessary to make informed trading decisions independently. Now, the more time you spend with us in this community, the better you will become at comprehending our analytical approach and utilizing the information gathered here to enhance your own trading decisions and strategies. So once again, I welcome you all on board and I encourage you to actively engage in the comment section. So with that being said, here we will be diving right into the business for today, and the first thing we usually do is to keep tabs with the fundamental factors that will be affecting the market sentiment today. And for those of you who has been with me for a while now, you know how important this is, as these fundamental factors often manifest on the chart in technical patterns and price movements. Now, by monitoring the economic calendar, we can identify potential correlations between key economic releases and specific technical patterns on the chart, hereby giving us valuable information needed to position ourselves in such a way that we can capitalize on any potential move prior, during, and even after these economic events. Now, with that being said, on the economic calendar and based on the assets we've been monitoring since the beginning of the week, we want to be focusing on events from both the United States and the United Kingdom economic docket. Now, for today, we do not have any high impactful events, so I took it a step further to include the medium impact events so that we can at least have an idea of what majority in the market will be looking forward to today as a driver of price movement. Now, while I did that, I was able to come up with a couple of features from the United States, which will be happening simultaneously in the next 2 to 3 hours. Now, the first one here is the building permit, which is usually released by the U.S. Bureau, U.S. Census Bureau at the Department of Commerce. And of course, this data here shows the number of permits for new construction projects, and it implies the movement of corporate investment, that is the U.S. economic development. Now, it tends to cause some volatility to the USD, and normally the growing number of permits increases the chances that the US dollar will rise. Now, the housing sector is considered to be one of the sensitive sectors in the US economy, which everyone will also want to be looking forward to. Now, from the previous data, that is data coming in from the month of October, came in at 1.498 million, while consensus projection for the month of November falls short of the previous month, and we have 1.47 million. So based on the information on ground, economists are projecting that there's likelihood of a contraction in that sector. So we look forward to see what the actual data will be on that one. Then simultaneously, we have the housing stats, which is released by the U.S. Census Bureau, the same department as well. And of course, this is an indicator that tracks how many new single families homes or buildings were constructed. Now, for the survey, each house and each single apartment are counted as one housing start. Now, generally speaking, a higher reading in this case scenario will incite a bullish perspective to the US dollar, whereas a low reading is seen as negative. Now, let's look at what the previous data says on this one, that is for the month of October. And as you will see here, we have 1.372, and we have economists projecting 1.36 million for the month of November. So another contraction is expected on that one too as well. So what this simply tells us is that based on the information we have on ground, economists are projecting a contraction in the housing sector of the United States. So we look forward to see what the actual data will be. Will it be just as expected, below expectations, or even beyond expectation? But one thing for sure is that as technical traders, we do know that the anticipation of this event has a tendency of influencing the market sentiment, which will definitely reflect on the chart as price action. Now, talking about price action, let's begin today's analysis by diving into our first asset for the week. And the first asset we are looking at, it usually takes time for my USOILSPOT chart to load up, so it will take maybe a couple of seconds. And while that happens, I can see comment from Sergio. Good morning to you, Sergio. All right, here we are. Now the USOILSPOT chart has finally loaded up. And it has been a mixed sentiment in this market in the last 24 hours, as we had both selling and buying opportunities during the course of the week. Now remember that at the beginning of the week we had a beautiful range where price was initially confined within the $72.60 level and the $71.96 area, where we had a flat channel to work with, which emphasized the level of indecision at that particular point in time. And of course, you know how we use this flat channel. Whenever we identify them on the chart, we want to exercise patience and wait for either a breakout of the resistance line to give us an opportunity to buy, or the breakdown of the support line to give us an opportunity to sell. Well, prior to yesterday's live session, I told you that I already have a sell position triggered, and that depending on how price action reacts to this descending trend line here will determine if we will continue the downtrend or get ready to join an uptrend situation. Now, with this in mind, we saw what happened during the New York session. Immediately after we ended our session, we saw price action climb up, breaking back above the ascending trend line, retested it at some point in time, and then boom, price action continued to the upside. Now remember, yesterday we talked about having a buy stop order sitting above the resistance zone of that range to capitalize on that bullish opportunity. And of course, we were able to take advantage of that one. And if you did, well done to you, as we saw price action from that resistance zone move over 200 pips in profit before the bearish momentum came in here. And of course, I hope you moved your stop losses accordingly, as we usually explain this during our live session, that we do want to move our stop losses to protect our position as soon as price action moves significantly well in our favor. And in fact, if you have done so, at least you must have taken a minimum of 100 pips on that particular buy position. And well done, and kudos to you for being on standby to capitalize on that move. Now, with the situation we have here, what is going to be our next line of action for today? Are we going to continue buying, or is this bearish momentum we witnessed since the New York session yesterday incite a further sell-off to the downside? And to have a better idea into what is going on here, we will need to have a quick and holistic perspective into this particular market. However, before we go into the higher time frame, I would like to share with you some of the fundamental factors that will be affecting the sentiment, and of course which has been affecting the sentiment so far, resulting in this bullish traction we noticed here yesterday. Now, as it is right now, oil prices find support amidst geopolitical disruption impacting trade and supply costs. A recent attack by the Houthi militant group on commercial vessels near Yemen contributes to the complexity of this market landscape. Now, notably, I can remember yesterday I also mentioned Russia's commitment to extend oil cuts of 50,000 barrels per day, and this is besides the 300,000 barrels per day which was pledged last month. And this of course adds to the pillar supporting and bolstering crude oil prices going forward. Now, looking ahead of today's trading session, market participants will be anticipating the publication of the API weekly crude oil stock, and of course the EIA crude oil stocks change for last week, and this is going to be coming up today and tomorrow respectively. Now, these releases will undoubtedly influence market sentiment and provide valuable cues for strategic decision making. Now, given this development, I want to maintain a bullish bias based on these factors, which all points at the upward direction at this point. Now, with this information in hand, let's scale into the higher time frame and let's look at things from a technical standpoint to see how we will be strategically positioning ourselves for the next move today. Now, looking at the daily time frame where we started our analysis for the week, we took into consideration the nature of price action since the month of September. And the first thing we observed here is the fact that price action is very, very bearish. And to emphasize the strength of the sellers, we were able to connect the series of lower highs, giving us a couple of descending trend lines to work with for this week. Now, in addition to the trend line, we begin to notice something interesting start to happen at the beginning of this month. Now, despite the strong bearish momentum in this market, we saw here that as soon as price got into that area, around the $68 and $69 level, we begin to notice some buy traction resume around that area. Now, the inability of sellers to break through the structure is a clear sign that we might be seeing the end of the bearish momentum, hereby opening the door for an opportunity to start buying the US oil spots. Now, to help us guide our trading decisions for this week, we did identify a key level situated at the $72.50 area, a level here which has played a major role in determining the direction of price action since the month of November. If you look at the structure closely, you will see how it was serving as a buying niche here before it was broken to the downside, and the inability of sellers to break through the structure for us is a sign that we might be seeing a reversal setup unfold on this chart. And if we take into consideration this impulsive move, you will see it's looking like a reversal pattern where the neckline of this pattern shares a beautiful confluence with that key level at the $72.50 area. Now, one more thing that makes this key level and neckline very interesting is the fact that it also shares a confluence with those descending trend lines we identified earlier. Now, what this simply means is that if price action in any way breaks out of the neckline and key level at the $72.50 area, price would also have broken out of this descending trend line, hereby giving us clues into how the trend line may no longer have the capacity to continue to negate the bullish attempt, welcoming buying opportunities. Now, to guide our decision for this week, we identified a trading setup on the 4 hours time frame where we use the $72.50 area as a yardstick to guide our decisions. Now, you will see at the beginning of this week, we already saw price action has already broken out of this descending trend line, and since last week Thursday, price has remained above this descending trend line to emphasize that we are within buyer's territory, where we did mention here yesterday that a breakout of the neckline and key level at the $72.50 level will be welcoming buy positions. Now, look at what has happened here. During the last 24 hours, we have seen our price has broken out of the $72.50 level, and technically, whenever we have a breakout of a key structure such as this, we expect that some point in time price may come back, retest the structure, and if the emergence of buy pressure happens there, we join the second leg of that bullish momentum. However, in as much as we're looking out for buying opportunities around that area, if it so happens that price breaks down the $72.50 level again, we might see a situation where price will drop back into this descending trend line, which of course also shares a beautiful confluence with this $70.60 level, where depending on what happens here will determine if we'll continue selling or buying. So if we look at the distance where price action is right now and this $70.60 area, you will see that we have a minimum of 180 to 200 pips to catch there. So if it breaks down, we want to be part of the bearish opportunity. Now you will see that we are at a crucial juncture here where the $72.50 level is going to be playing a major role in determining what we will be doing today. And considering this to be our key level, you know how we use our key levels in this community. As long as price action remains above the key level, we look out for patterns and structures that supports the idea of buying, And if price drops below the key level, we look out for patterns and structures that supports the idea of selling. Now, to have a better idea or perspective into what is going on around the key level, we will scale down into the 1 hour time frame where we will begin to see things more clearly. Now, right here on the 1 hour time frame, price action is back into the resistance zone of that range we identified at the beginning of the week. Remember, we saw price action confined within the $72.60 level and the $71.86 area. Now, after the breakout of that range, we see that price action is back into that structure. And as a result of these, I already have another buy position running with the hopes that price action will continue to the upside, and this movement in price action to downside may be a retracement, and it appears with the emergence of buy pressure around this area that we might be seeing the end of that retracement phase to incite an uptrend move. Now, another thing that will be guiding our decisions for today is this ascending trend line, which we spotted here yesterday. And as you will see, this trend line has been supporting the bullish momentum. Right now, price is above the ascending trend line. And of course, you know how we use our ascending trend lines in this community. As long as price action remains above the ascending trend line, we shall feel comfortable in our buy position. So in that regard, we still maintain a bullish bias in this market. Now we look out for more buying opportunities, and in fact, as a result of this, I did identify another level around the $73 area, which we will be using to maximize the potential of this bullish move. So a breakout retest will welcome more buying opportunities, and if price action continues to find new highs, a breakout of the highest point for this week, which is at the $74.50 level, will be welcoming more buy positions. So we want to mark out these levels on our chart so that we can be able to capitalize on the uptrend continuation. However, in as much as we are looking out for buying opportunities, you know how we do it in this community, we also want to keep tabs with the potentials of the sellers too as well, keeping a balanced perspective to this market. Now, with the situation we have here, what is it that will make us consider selling the US all spots? Well, first of all, the first thing I would like to state here is this ascending trend line we spotted here. I would like to see price break down, retest this ascending trend line before I want to be considering selling. And one interesting thing about the ascending trend line is the fact that it also shares a confluence with our key level. Now, a breakdown retest of the structure will be welcoming selling position. So if a breakdown happens and buyers find it difficult to break back above the ascending trend line, then this will be a good opportunity to join the decline and of course have a sell stop order again below the $71.96 level to capitalize on the downtrend continuation. So this is my simple view on the US all spot for today. So you will agree with me that we are at a crucial juncture in the market where everything in this market is going to be surrounding every decision we make in this market today will be around the key level at the $72.50 area. So let's see how the market will play out. Like I told you earlier, I'm already in a buy position. Let's see how far this will go, and if we get taken out, then a breakdown retest of the ascending trend line will welcome selling opportunities. So if you have any questions whatsoever as regards to the setup, or there is an aspect you want me to clarify for you, feel free to let me know in the comment section. So as usual, I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds off to see if there are any questions before we move on to the next asset on our watch list. Hello, everyone. I just noticed some comments in the comment section. Please be aware of potential scammers in the comment section. Please claiming to offer profit or redirecting you to other platform. Extreme Speed will never promote external services on this platform. Please take note of this and always exercise caution when addressing people who refer you outside of this platform. They are scammers and potentially can scam you of your money. And if in doubt, reach out to the Extreme Speed Contact Center. You can find it at the home page. At the top right hand corner, you will see the logo of a head and a headset. Click on it, and then you will be attended to. So please stay safe, stay vigilant, and don't fall for praise who act as commenters in the comment section. Please don't get involved in referrals to other platforms. Thank you very much. Your safety is of top priority. So, in the absence of no questions, I want to assume that we are all on the same page, and in that regard, we shall be moving on to the next asset on our watch list. So the next asset on our watch list for today is the USTech100, which has done very well since the beginning of the week, as currently we are running with over close to 90 pips in profit right now. And for those who capitalized on these opportunities, well done to you. That's the first position right there. And then we have the second position, which is running with about 62 pips. So we have a total of 150 pips in profit on the US Tech 100. Well, for those who missed out on our earlier edition on this asset, let's run through how the week started here and what led to the decisions we made. So at the beginning of the week, we saw how price action was ranging. In fact, it was confined within the 16,645 level and the $16,590 area, to emphasize the level of indecision in this market. And you know how we do it. Whenever we have a range like this, when we mark them out, we exercise patience and wait for either the breakdown of the support line to give us an opportunity to sell, or the breakout of the resistance line to give us an opportunity to buy. And instead, we saw price breakout of the 16,645 to trigger our first buy position for the week. Then we also marked out our key level, had a 16,670 to add more buy positions to our existing trade. So currently we have a minimum of 150 pips running in profit right now. And of course, you know how we do it. The next thing we want to be doing right now is to ensure that we move all stop losses and secure this current position as we begin to notice some sell pressure resume around this area. Now, if you would ask me, I would suggest that anywhere between the 16,720 and the 16,700 area seems most appropriate to move all stop losses to securing the current buy positions. And always remember, while you move your stop losses accordingly, you want to be giving enough breathing space for price action to move around. Now, with a well-secured position at this juncture, what is going to be our next line of action? Are we going to continue buying, or are there chances that we could see a retracement of the breakout of those structures yesterday to incite another wave of bullish momentum? Now, before we go into the details here, let's scale up into the higher time frame. I think we started our analysis on the daily time frame, right? I think so. We started on the daily time frame. On the daily time frame, we saw that price action has been bullish since the month of September. We have an ascending trend line in that regard, which has been respected, though we had at a time it was broken to the downside. But since it broke back above in the month of November, price action has remained above the ascending trend line, further emphasizing the strength of the buyers at this point. Now we are at a critical zone here where price is back into the 16,000 or getting closer to the 16,800, a high which has been which is peculiar since the year 2021. As you will see here, selling pressure resumes around that area, and right now price action is gradually approaching that structure. Are we going to be seeing a breakout of the structure today or this week, or price will be going to the downside? Well, I was able to identify a setup on the 4 hours time frame, and what I did on the 4 hours time frame was to take into consideration the nature of price action since the beginning of this month. And if you look at this closely, you will see that price action appeared to have transitioned into an ascending channel. And in fact, if you connect the series of higher highs, we have the resistance line here, and a series of higher lows, we have the support line of that ascending channel. Now, there is something here which I emphasized here yesterday, that is this marginal line that demarcates the first half from the second half of this ascending channel. And since price broke out of the structure last week Wednesday, price action has remained above this line to emphasize the strength of the buyers at this point in time. Now, will this line be broken to the downside today, or will this trend line continue to act as a platform for new highs during this week's trading session? Now, to guide our decision, we have our key level marked out at the $16,670 area, which was broken successfully yesterday. And at this point, whenever we see price break out of a key structure, we expect that price will at some point in time maybe come back to retest that structure, which interestingly shares a confluence with this ascending trend line we spotted here earlier. Now, if this is going to be the case, then we might be looking out for buying opportunities if price comes into the structure to join an uptrend move. And if a breakdown happens, we might be looking at a TP target at the support line of that ascending channel. Now, with the information we have gathered here, you will agree that we are at a crucial juncture. And as you will see that in the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, in the last 20 hours, we have been noticing selling pressure around this area. So the question now is, are we going to be witnessing a profit-taking activity that will bring price back into the structure before another wave will happen, or even drop to as far as the support line of that range of that ascending channel? Or are we going to be seeing a breakout of the structure to incite another uptrend move? Now, to guide our decisions for today, we will scale back down into the 1 hour time frame, where you will begin to see things more clearly. So the new level we've identified this morning is going to be at the $16,750 area. This is the highest point price action has been for this week. Now, if I want to be buying here, I want to see price action break out of the 16,750, and in fact, I already have a buy stop order above the structure to capitalize on the uptrend continuation. However, if selling pressure persists here and price action drops below the support line of this range, somewhere around here, let's see, I think we have it exactly around the 16,715. Okay, so we do want to be marking this level, 16,715. So if price drops below the structure, taking out all the buy positions here, we might be seeing a counter trend opportunity, which for me will be considered to be a retracement move. So I wouldn't be taking advantage of that opportunity. But if you are a scalper and probably you want to scalp this one, and you feel comfortable in taking counter trend opportunities, well, you might be selling the breakdown retest of the structure and looking at a minimum of 50 pips to catch here and a maximum of about 70 pips to catch here. But for me, what I will be doing is to wait and see how far will this retracement phase go. Will it get into the 16,670, our key level for the week, or this trend line, or even get to as far as the 16,645, where we had our first buy position yesterday, where the appearance of buy pressure here could incite an uptrend continuation, or a breakdown of the structure will definitely welcome selling opportunities. So this is what we will be looking at if price action ever breaks down the 16,715 level. Now, that is what I look out for to sell. But if price breaks out the 16,750, then we are in to be part of the uptrend continuation. So this is my view on the US Tech 100 for today. So I encourage us all to mark out these levels on our chart, as we will be needing them as a reference point to guide our independent trading decisions for today. So this is my view here. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the comment section. So I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds off. See if you have any questions whatsoever. All right. Thank you very much. Once again, I would like to state here again, please be aware of potential scammers in the comment section. Scholars asking people to click on a link, please, claiming to offer profit or redirecting you to other platform. Please, Extreme Speed does not promote any external services on the platform. So please be aware of this and don't fall for any of these scammers' motives, please. Please watch out for School's comments. These are not allowed and they are not advised by Extreme Speed. Thank you very much. So in the absence of no questions, I want to assume that we are all on the same page, and in that regard, we shall be moving on to the next asset on our watch list. So the next asset on our watch list for today is the GBPUSD, another phenomenal asset on our watch list for this week, and we have been doing pretty well in the last 24 hours. Initially, we had a sell position triggered at the beginning of the week. Remember, we talked about this during our live session yesterday after identifying a range where price action was confined within the 1.2700 level and the 1.266500 area to emphasize the level of indecision at the beginning of the week. And of course, we did mention that if price action at any point in time breaks down and retests the 1.26650 level, we will join a decline to the downside. And in fact, we saw price action move about 37 pips in our favor before the bullish momentum came in. And if you were with us during our live session yesterday, we did emphasize that price action will, if price gets into this area, we shall be looking out for patterns and structures that will support the idea of buying. Now, remember, yesterday we talked about this impulsive move that started on Wednesday's trading session. We saw this impulse leg all the way into the 1.2800 area, where we agreed that this bearish momentum was more or less a retracement phase of that impulsive move. And when we used our Fibonacci retracement tool to project where the retracement phase will end before another wave of bullish momentum will happen, this is what we found here. So we had that area between the 50 and the 78.6% of that impulsive move as an area we look out for buying opportunities, especially if we start seeing reversal patterns around this area. Now, if you look at this structure closely, you will see that as soon as price action got into the 1.26300 area, we begin to notice buy pressure resume from that area. And I do hope we moved our stop losses accordingly on the sell position. And if you had done that, you must have been taken out at a worst case scenario break even, and well done to you for doing that. Now, this morning I saw this setup when I noticed this buy pressure, decided to capitalize on a retest of the 1.265 level to join that uptrend move to the upside. Now, we are at a very crucial juncture in this market right now, as you will see since the Asian session buy pressure has begun in this particular market. Now, looking at things from a fundamental factor, we can say that the pound sterling's rebound gains traction courtesy of a weaker US dollar and diminished US Treasury bond yield. Now, the market participants now look forward to tomorrow's release of the United Kingdom inflation data for cues in this market environment, adding depth to the pound sterling's recovery. Now, Bank of England's policymaker Ben Broadbent, remember we were talking about this yesterday, that Broadbent will be having a speech, and whatever he says will be giving, adding some influx into the price movement in the market. Now, during his speech yesterday, he emphasized that the Monetary Policy Committee remains vigilant, requiring clear and sustained signs of declining inflation before confidently identifying a downtrend situation. So this statement, of course, aligns with the Bank of England's governor, Andrew Bailey's commitment last week, instilling hope in the pound sterling. And I think as a result of this hawkish comment, we're beginning to see some traction unfold on the chart, hereby giving us buy pressure, breaking out of both our 1.26650 level and the 1.2700 area, giving us two buy positions currently running in profit right now. Now, for those who had capitalized on these opportunities, well done to you for being on standby, joining this uptrend situation. And for me, I would advise that all stop losses should be moved to anywhere above the first entry, that is the 1.266500 level. Now, let's ensure we secure these positions while we continue to monitor price action from this particular area. Now, going into today's trading session, after securing all our buy positions, what will be our plans for today? How do we intend to capitalize on the next move? Well, before we go into the details here, let's scale up into the higher time frame where we started our analysis for this week. And right on the 4 hours time frame, you will begin to see that since the month of October, price action has been on a strong bullish momentum, and as a result of this, we were able to identify an ascending trend line, as you will see here, which of course has been supporting the bullish bias. And in addition to this ascending trend line are a couple of more key levels which we identify here. Now, one of them, which is one of the most important one here, is the 1.2500 area. Now, if you look at the structure here, you will see how this level had played a major role in determining the direction of price action since the month of November. Now, it was initially a selling niche at some point, but since price broke out of the structure in the third week of the month of November, price action has remained above the structure. Now, fast forward to the early days of this month, we saw buy pressure here, and on the last trading day of on Wednesday, second half of last week, we saw buy pressure resume around this area again, leading to this engulfing bullish candle that took us into the 1.21800 level, and along the line broke out of this descending trend line. Now, this is a very massive signal that price will continue to climb up. Now, in addition to this whole structure here, we did take into consideration that this impulsive move could witness some retracement after testing that level. Now, when we break out our Fibonacci retracement tool, running it through the previous impulse leg, we had the zone around the 50 and the 78.6% as an area to look out for buying opportunity. And exactly as soon as price got into the 50% retracement of that impulsive leg, we begin to notice buy pressure resume around this area. Right now, the question now is, will this bullish momentum continue in such a way that it will break out of our key level at the 1.27350, and of course the highest point in recent time at the 1.28 to incite another wave of bullish momentum. So the outlook on the GBPUSD is still looking very, very bullish. Now, with this information we have gathered on the 4 hours time frame, let's scale back down into the 1 hour time frame to mark out levels we will be using to guide our decisions for today. Now, like I said earlier, that for those of us who had bought the 1.2665 and of course the 1.270 area, let's ensure we move our stop loss to anywhere above the first entry here, secure this position while we look out for more buying opportunities. Now, for those of us who had missed out on these opportunities, please note that we want to be exercising patience and wait for new structures. So like this now, let's see if the market will still come back to retest the structure. If it comes back, well, we'll look out for buy pressure here to join that uptrend move. And in fact, I'm going to be marking out a trend line which we will be using to guide our trading decisions for today. And of course, you know how we use our ascending trend lines in this community. As long as price action remains above the ascending trend line, we feel comfortable in our buy position. So I will thicken this a little bit to emphasize its importance. So we still maintain a bullish bias here. Now, for those who missed that, we could still see a situation where price could come back, retest the structure to join an uptrend move. And if that does not happen, well, let's see if a retest of the 1.27 will happen to join the uptrend move, and then have a buy stop order above the 1.27350 to maximize this bullish continuation. And then we have the 1.2800 area where we will be adding more position if price action break out and retest of this particular structure. So this is what we shall be looking out for on this bullish expectations at this point in time. The ascending trend line we just identified will be playing a major role in guiding our bias for today's trading session. So as long as price remains above the ascending trend line, we shall feel comfortable in the buy position. However, if at any point in time price action breaks down the ascending trend line, we might be looking out for selling opportunity. But for me, I will consider selling only if price action takes out the lowest point price action has been for this week, which is exactly at the 1.26300 level. Though price action is within the potential demand zone we identified earlier, now for us to sell here, we want to see some significant confirmation that truly sellers are going to be dictating the pace, and it's going to be something like a breakdown, retest of either the structure or the structure where continuous selling pressure shows signs that buyers are finding it difficult to climb back above the ascending trend line. Then we can join a bearish opportunity to the downside and then add more sell position if price action goes on to break down the 1.2600 level, a level which also shares a confluence with the ascending trend line we spotted on the higher time frame. So that is the only condition that will make us consider selling the GBPUSD today. So I doubt if that will happen, but if it happens, we'll be on standby to capitalize on this move. But pending the time, we still maintain a bullish bias since price action still remains above the ascending trend line. So this is my simple view on the GBPUSD for today. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the comment section. I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds as usual to see if there are any questions whatsoever before we move on to the next asset on our watch list. All right, all right. Thank you very much, Carrie, for that backup on that one. So please, everyone, be aware of scammers and spammers in the comment section. So I see your comment, Leon. Good morning to you. Glad to have you around with us this morning. Hello, Valia. Good morning to you. Dance887. Good morning to you too, as well. So in the absence of no questions, I want to assume that we are all on the same page, and in that regard we shall be moving on to the last and final asset on our watch list for today. So the last asset on our watch list for today is my favorite asset, that is the XAUUSD, popularly known as the gold spot. And in fact, we have quite an interesting situation going on right now, as the buy position we took advantage of yesterday still remains very much intact. Remember that we bought at the breakout of the resistant line of that range, had a 2024 $80 level, as you will see here, and both positions are still currently running, though one is running in a loss and the other one is running with a very small amount of profit at this point in time, as we can see that gold prices continue to struggle to build on yesterday's bullish momentum that we saw here that broke out of the 2024 area. Now, the prevailing robust risk-on sentiment in global equity markets, driving U.S. stocks indices to near record highs on Monday, adds pressure to the safe haven asset. However, geopolitical tensions remain a significant concern, especially amidst growing apprehensions about a potential global economic slowdown, particularly in China and the Eurozone. Now, this could potentially bolster the gold asset and deter bearish traders from making aggressive moves ahead of the crucial U.S. inflation report scheduled to release on Friday's trading session. So as a result of this observation, we may likely be seeing a long consolidation phase in anticipation of the inflation data coming up on Friday from the US economic docket. Now, given these factors, I still maintain a bullish stance using that ascending trend line as a yardstick to guide our decisions. So going into today's trading session, what is it that we will be looking out for? Well, let me quickly run through the higher time frame, especially for those of us who were not part of our earlier session, so that they can also be on the same page with us. Now, on the 4 hours time frame, I want to refresh our memories as to what we saw here. Now, on the 4 hours time frame, we did take into consideration the nature of price action since the month of October, and this was what we came up with. As you will see, price action has been very bullish, and in fact, we have an ascending trend line to buttress this fact. Now, in addition to this ascending trend line is this beautiful level at the $1,990 area, which has played a major role in determining the direction of price action since the month of October. Look at how this level was initially a selling niche, just like what we had on the GBPUSD chart. It was more of a selling niche around this area before we finally saw the breakout of the zone during the 3rd week of the month of November, and since then price action has remained above that area, making me to identify this area as a demand zone. And as long as price remains above this structure, it makes quite a lot of sense to look out for buying opportunity. And as we saw here last week, we saw this engulfing bullish candle spring out from this demand zone on Thursday to emphasize some level of strength in buy pressure in this market. And usually when we see an engulfing move like this breaking out of key structures, especially the descending trend line we have here, we expect that some point in time price will likely come back to retest the structure. Now, as at last week Friday, we saw that as soon as price got into the trend line here, we noticed some buy pressure resume around that area, and this continued into this week's trading session, as we saw buy pressure again continue from that area since yesterday's trading session. Now, the question here is, will price action continue to the upside, or are we going to be seeing selling pressure break back down the descending trend line to bring price maybe back into the demand zone, which interestingly shares a confluence with the ascending trend line, maybe to incite an uptrend or even break it down to incite a sell-off. However, if we look at the fundamental factors behind the scenes, it's more or less makes sense to buy this asset. However, the anticipation of the US inflationary report coming in on Friday may slow down the pace of the bullish momentum, and this could result in some sell-off before the bullish momentum happens. Now, to guide our decision for today's trading session, we will scale down into the lower time frame to see if we can have a pattern or structure around this area that we can use to guide our decisions for today. Now, scaling back down into the 1 hour time frame, the first thing I would like to acknowledge here is this ascending trend line. Now, we drew this ascending trend line yesterday, and after capturing the series of higher lows, it shows that price action wants to continue to respect the ascending trend line. And you know how we use our ascending trend lines in this community. As long as price action remains above the ascending trend line, we shall feel comfortable in a buy position. So price still remains above the structure, so let's feel comfortable and look out for more opportunities to buy. Now, in addition to that ascending trend line, I was able to spot a descending trend line here since last week Thursday after connecting the series of lower highs. Now, this trend line here needs to be broken to the upsides to further confirm that we are going bullish. And if a breakout of the key level had the $2,030 level happens, this would be good opportunities to maximize the uptrend continuation, and then we can have a buy stop order again above the 2035 level to add more buy positions to our existing trade. So that is how we are going to be capitalizing on bullish opportunities in this particular market. However, in as much as we're looking out for buying opportunities, as usual, we cannot ignore the potentials that sellers can also come in as well. Now, if we are going to be selling, personally, I would like to see price action take out this demand zone, this support line at the $2,016.10 level, which happens to be the lowest point for this week. And of course, if price action breaks down that level, then we might be looking out for selling opportunities. However, I'm also considering selling even before the breakdown of that structure happen. Now, what do I want to see that will guide that idea? Now, I would like to see a breakdown and retest of the structure. Very, very important. Retest of structure will confirm to us that buyers are finding it difficult to climb back above the ascending trend line, and this will be a beautiful opportunity to join early enough, then have a sell stop order below the $2016 area, then join that decline to the downside. Now, there is one more thing I would like to call our attention to, which we of course want to be placing on our chart as well, and that is this descending trend line we spotted on the 4 hours time frame. Now, if price gets into the structure, that is if sellers come into this market and it brings price into the structure, let's ensure we move all our stop losses, secure the positions, and wait to see how the market will react to this area. If it happens that we see buy pressure resume, maybe transitioning into a reversal pattern, the breakout retest of the neckline will welcome buying opportunities. But if price action breaks down this descending trend line, and then we will be looking out for selling opportunities there. So at this point in time, our center of focus is mainly around this ascending trend line, which will be determining our sense of direction for today. So we maintain a bullish bias. Price still remains above that ascending trend line, and let's hope that price will continue to the upside. So this is my view on the XAUUSD. I encourage us all to mark out these levels on our chart, as we will be needing them as a reference point to guide our independent trading decisions for today. So I don't know if you have any questions. I'm already out of time at this point in time, but I will take some 5 seconds off to see if there are any questions, after which we will round off for today's trading session. All right. I see your comment here for Trillion. Trillion is that a question or a statement planned for Bitcoin? Well, I'm not sure what that is anyway. Julius75. Okay. All right. Okay. So in the absence of no questions and this note, I will be rounding up on today's extreme speed exclusive price action session. And in fact, we were able to attend to 4 major assets today, which includes the USOILSPOT, the XAUUSD, the GBPUSD, and of course the USTech100, all of which we were able to identify simple setups to strategically position ourselves for the next move during the New York session today. So I encourage us all to exercise patience and allow our structures to mature before you jump into any positions. And always remember that every decision we make in the financial market is more or less an educated guess until price action hits your TP target. So in that regard, you want to ensure that you have a well-defined risk management strategy in place, which will be consistent with all the trades you take from your portfolio. So, with that being said, that reminds me, those who are joining us for the first time, I hope you are able to gain one or two things from what we discussed here today during the course of the session. And in fact, if you do, you want to be part of the subsequent editions on the Extra and Speed. The more time you spend with us in this community, the better you get to comprehend our analytical approach and eventually be able to use the information you gather here to make your own independent trading decisions. So, on this note, I wish us all the best of luck and looking forward to seeing you same time tomorrow, 10 a.m. UTC, 11 a.m. West African time, as we come here again to review how well these assets have been doing and at the same time prepare ourselves for tomorrow's trading session, which promises to be another insightful one as we look forward to a bunch of catalysts that will be driving the market sentiment tomorrow. Trade smart, trade consciously, and do have a wonderful evening, everyone. Bye bye.